Hey everybody, welcome back to One Mic, and today I'm here to talk about episodes 6 and 7, the final two episodes of Apple TV's Lady in the Lake. So, I mentioned in my last video, where I covered episodes 3 through 5, how this show kind of hooked me back in after I thought I was done with it. By the time I was done with episode 5, I committed to not only finishing the season, but also completing coverage here on the channel for the show. And I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of excited for episode 6. Excited might be a bit of a stretch, but I wasn't as apathetic toward watching the show as I had been going into episode 3. Episode 5, it ended with a ridiculous cliffhanger, as if Maddie was gonna die from this improbable stabbing, but it was a cliffhanger nonetheless. On the day that episode 6 was released, I was ready to watch it that night. And I gotta say, I was pretty disappointed. But before I even get into all that, I want to say up front that I really respect this show for what it tried to pull off, even though it didn't really work for me. I could see it working for a lot of other people, though. Episode 6, it keeps Maddie confined to a hospital bed for the entirety of the episode's runtime, choosing to use this time to really lean into these dream sequences that we've been kind of seeing on a spotty level in the first 5 episodes. But they use it as a means of exploring Maddie's subconscious. And I'll readily admit, having your penultimate episode mostly consist of dream sequences, it was a ballsy move, and I respect it. I didn't think the dream sequences were bad per se, but I just thought they were a bit too much. Too much in their frequency, too much in their duration, too much in their levels of surrealism. These dream sequences were long, man, and their purpose seemed to be more vibes than information. And generally, I'm cool with just vibes. Euphoria Season 1 is a great example of a show where I could say that a large part of its appeal is vibes. But I really fucked with Season 1 of Euphoria, and Season 2 even more so. But I think at the end of the day, this is a murder mystery show, right? I want clues, I want evidence, I want motives, I want investigations, shit like that. Not vibes, especially in the second to last episode. And like I said, at a pivotal moment, that penultimate episode, this show dropped an episode that was almost entirely vibes. It was a lot of confusing and muddled imagery that only seemed to tie in and make sense at the end of the sequence. It would be weird shit, weird shit, weird shit, weird shit. And then here's some imagery that makes sense and ties in, and you can understand why we have this dream sequence. And look, I'm not immune to the possibility that I'm just too creatively stupid to understand all of the imagery. But at the end of the day, a story that to this point felt not grounded, but fairly grounded, because like I said, it was spotty how they the frequencies which they use the dream sequences. They went balls deep into an entirely different tone at a very pivotal moment of the season. I just didn't care for it. Hey everybody, I just want to take a small break from this review to talk about the various other ways you can engage with me on other platforms. If you're so inclined, and I understand why you wouldn't, I am an acquired taste, but you can join the Patreon where you can get extra content like retro reviews, where I review old shows and movies to see if they still hold up today, Mike's Musings, where I talk about shows I'm watching that I don't cover on the channel, or Mike's VOD, where you can commission me to watch a show, which I will then review on the channel. And if you want to engage with me and chat with me more directly, I also implore you to join the Discord and follow the Facebook page. I set up channels in the Discord for all of us to discuss the shows I'm reviewing on the channel, and I also drop new videos in there since it's the easiest platform for me to share to from my phone. The Facebook can be really fun because I sort of live comment on shows I'm watching, often while under the influence, I'm not gonna lie. And I'll also share news there, both about television and film, and about myself as well. So if you like my content, you want to be more engaged, you think I'm charming, or you simply want to show support, feel free to sign up for the Patreon or join the Discord or Facebook today. Links to all platforms are in every video description. Remember to share all my shit to your respective social media platforms. And now back to this review. However, the episode wasn't entirely vibes. We did get information both in the moments between the dreams and during them. For starters, we learned that Alan's likely the father of Seth, but that he knew about her affair with her father, which that was pretty interesting. Alan being Seth's father, 0% surprising. Alan knowing about his father fucking his girlfriend, pretty shocking. And he even tells Maddie that she wasn't the only one. So he knew about his father's whole harem. He knew everybody. Now, how that revelation led to them having sex in that moment, I don't know. It's beyond me, but I just chalked it up to Maddie being Maddie. Slap gets arrested for Cleo's murder, which my gut reaction was based on what? But I did I was starting to call bullshit, but I did allow myself to let it go and accept the fact that Shell is probably just powerful enough to simply just command that Slap be arrested for what he did at the funeral. So I was willing to let that go. And that wasn't a huge moment in the episode, but it does play a big part in the finale. Also, Bauer tells Maddie that Stefan confessed to Tessie's murder, but we learned that it was the mother who killed Tessie after Stefan attempted to rape her. Platt, he's forced to resign because the only other option is that it be made known that he had been sneaking into Maddie's apartment. That gets exposed. He gets arrested. Black man fucking white woman is a jailable offense up until 2006. No, anyway. And the episode really leaned into Reggie having killed Cleo, as he gives her son literal bread and figurative bread, aka money, with tears in his eyes, as if to say oh, I'm sorry I killed your mama, but make a sandwich. But I can sit here and try to break down each dream sequence and the purpose it served within the episode, but I'm gonna be honest with you guys. They OD'd so much on the dream sequences, and I found them to feel, because I don't want to say be, but they felt for me so disconnected from the rest of the show that I basically stopped paying attention at a certain point. One of them became a musical number, and just by that point, I was kind of already fed up with frequent and extended dream sequences that just didn't seem to further the narrative in any pivotal way. I mean, well, not in any pivotal way, but they didn't seem to further the narrative during a pivotal episode. It just seemed like they wanted to experiment. And to be clear, I don't have any issue with whatsoever with what they were doing. I just didn't feel like it was well executed or well timed. Finally, the episode ends with Cleo being in Maddie's hospital room. And at the time, I thought that was kind of a dumb ending because it played like some big reveal. But since the entire episode had been dream sequences, I just assumed that Maddie was imagining that too, and it was probably the regular nurse that she just envisioned it as Cleo. And I didn't mind that at the time. I said, dumb, but it was only because they played it up like it was a big reveal. I didn't think it was a bad ending to the episode or anything. I was just okay, whatever, right? But given how everything ultimately ended up playing out in the finale, they could have really floored us with that ending if it wasn't so ambiguous. If I knew for sure that was Cleo in that moment, that would have been a huge what the fuck moment. At least for me anyway. But here, my friends, is where my video, like this show, takes a turn. I want to move on to talk about the finale because I gotta say, I was actually pretty impressed. It's very rare that a show can get me with a twist or reveal that I didn't at least see coming, in the sense of it was something that I considered, or even a twist that I didn't see coming in the sense of I didn't expect a twist at all. I just thought it was gonna be pretty straightforward. But I was shocked to learn that actually was Cleo in Maddie's room. And again, I'm man, that would have been a great ending to the episode if you knew for sure. But anyway, the reveal that the dead body was actually Dora, I don't know if I just wasn't on my game, but they completely blindsided me with that. I never entertained the idea that it was not Cleo who had been killed. And when it was clear that it was Dora, I wrote in my notes, okay, you got me. I write in my notes like I would talk to a person or to myself. But that pretty much cemented that I was going to like that episode, because if you could fool me like that, you already won me over more than likely. So the finale opens to a flashback of Dora and Cleo manipulating their way into Shell's club. And I just want to point out how kind it was of me to describe what took place as manipulated. But my favorite part of the episode, that I'm sure is no one else's favorite part of the episode, is when Shell notices that there's more people in the club than cover money that he has. If someone asked me who should play a character that would notice something like that, I'd have been Wood Harris. But anyway, Shell tells Cleo that out of respect for her dad and the fact that she's clearly good with numbers, if she works for him, she'll let Dora and Cleo sing on the stage and audition at this talent show right then. They agree, but then Cleo backs out, and that's essentially the story of how Dora gets the job, ending up being the singer at Shell's club. Once we shift back to not quite, but almost present day, this is when we learn about Dora's death. Something that was conveniently left out when that moment would have happened chronologically, but that was in order to preserve the twist, so all good. When we go back to Cleo being in Maddie's hospital room, we learn it was Cleo who had sent the tip to Maddie's helpline. That was interesting to learn. And at this point, Maddie's now pretty lucid. So it's right back to being an insufferable and selfish scumbag for her. So after Cleo I already feel myself get mad on the inside. Like, after Cleo explains the situation, letting Maddie know that it's vital to all parties that Cleo stay dead and that it would help her reunite with her family, Cleo can immediately see that Maddie don't give a fuck about any of that. She's like, judging by the look on your face, you're more interested in the story that I'm alive than anything that I just said to you about wanting to live in peace with my family. And then Maddie's like, are you judging me for my ambition? Yes, bitch, I am judging you for your ambition. Like, oh God, this is the most selfish character in the history of TV. Like, this woman, Cleo, faked her own death just to escape Shell and live with her family in peace. And you're like, I can get some more slaps on the ass and maybe some black dick if I write this story, though. Fuck this woman and her family. Like, what a terrible person. And then it's almost like Cleo was prepared for Maddie to be a piece of shit. She's like, okay, well, if you let this story go, I'll help you take down Shell Gordon. Just hold off until Friday and I got you. And Maddie's like, cool. And then the first thing Maddie does, she turns around and immediately does the exact opposite of shutting the fuck up till Friday. She goes back to the newspaper, demands to write her own stories, and says she has one about Cleo. Then she goes to question Slap in prison and tells him that Cleo is alive, which Cleo did not authorize her to do, and that is not her place to do. Like, how do you go back on your word instantly? Like, you, like, you tell Cleo, like, yeah, I won't say shit. I got you till Friday. Then as soon as you get out the hospital, you start saying shit. Like, you couldn't wait till Thursday to go back on your word. Like, it was same day. Like, as soon as she got out the hospital, the sun was in the exact same position in the sky, and she started telling motherfuckers what she wasn't supposed to say. So, God, I hate Maddie. So Slap, he sees, though, how self-serving Maddie is being in that moment, and he's like, if Cleo is alive, she did it for our boys, but you just too blind to see that. And I shouted at my screen, Cleo said that to her directly in those words. Maddie just don't care. That's the problem. Like, she's not only doing harm to Cleo, but she's doing harm to Cleo in order to help herself. Like, Maddie is content to completely destroy this woman's family and best laid plans for one story. And it ain't fucking Watergate either. And then as if that's not enough, Maddie also needed to make a pit stop at Platt's place just to rip his heart out real quick before the season was over. So she shows up at his door, knowing full well, because he gave the address, everything, knowing full well that he wants to be with her and that her showing up at his apartment would indicate to him that she had chosen him. And she's like, nah, I always swore about to tell you I got a better place somewhere else, but you can come fuck me in it though. Like, this selfish piece of shit, this woman. Like, Platt justifiably tells her to fuck off by closing the door in her face, like, of course. And even though Maddie has immediately started trying to fuck everything up, Cleo continues with her plan to take down Shell, which I'm going to kind of zoom through that since we've already been at this for a minute, plus, like, these are kind of, like, unimportant details, but I do want to talk about it. Cleo's son, he gets Shell out of his office with this story about Reggie stealing from him. While they're talking, Reggie and Cleo, with Cleo disguised as a man, but I think her own replacement, they go upstairs. I don't know why Reggie took out the elevator man after the scam had already worked, but whatever. Cleo gets led to the room with all the books. She steals some and then sets fire to the rest of them. And once the smoke is cleared, figuratively and literally, Reggie holds Shell at gunpoint and says that he's going to, makes him call the police and confess. Confess to what both of them had did. Not Shell owning all the things, but like Shell, like, I'm here and I did this thing and Reggie's here and I made him do this other thing. Meanwhile, Maddie continues to selfishly destroy her relationship with her family as well, because, why not? So Seth destroys her diaries because he doesn't want his father to potentially find out that he's not his real dad, because, as Seth put it, Maddie loves the stories that hurt the most. And then Maddie's like, you think that I would do that to you? And me and Seth are both like, yes, we think you would do that. Yes, that's exactly what I think you would do. Like ultimately, despite being probably the most selfish character I've ever seen on a show, Maddie still ultimately comes out on top. But not before one more moment that shows how clueless and terrible she is. When Cleo meets up with her, she gives her Shell's books, and Maddie confesses that she told Slap about her being alive anyway. And Chloe is like, this old untrustworthy two-faced bitch. Like, she ain't say that, but that look, oh my goodness. And that look was only there for a split second, which that felt authentic too as a black person. Like, she got her face together real quick because she knew what it was, but like for a split second, like I had to pause it, like just for a split second, that look on her face, like this motherfucker. Loved it. Loved Moses Ingram in that moment. And Maddie's like, do you think under different circumstances we could be friends? Like, how clueless is this person? Like, both me and Cleo, like, what kind of circumstances might those be? like, come on, man. But like I said, she still ultimately wins. She gets Slap freed. The book she writes about the story seems to have skyrocketed her to undeserved stardom. But I mean, like, she's lost her family and everyone who knows her hates her. But hey, like, she's a writer, right? It's all worth it. To make a writer's salary, to lose your family and have everybody hate you. So Cleo and her family, they're seemingly in France, with Cleo performing under the name of Dora Carter. And aside from the fact that I don't know what happened to her son with sickle cell, like, admittedly, I may have just missed it, especially if it was in episode 6. But aside from that, I thought this wrapped up pretty well. Maddie is an absolutely loathsome person, but a character that I actually enjoyed hating, and that Natalie Portman, her fine ass, played to perfection. I thought the story wrapped up really well. Again, for the third video I've done for this show, the music was consistently great on this show, and I do still respect its attempts at trying something different creatively. This show, it's not going to make my top 10, probably not even my honorable mentions, honestly, but it was an enjoyable watch. I wouldn't discourage anybody from watching it, and if nothing else, there's some great performances, great music, and Maddie really is, I think, a legendary character for being this shitty of a person. So let me know what you thought in the comments, and until next time, peace.